I'm a big Marvel guy. I've been collecting comic books since I was a wee little fox kid. I couldn't tell you what my first comic was, but I can tell you I've collected a metric butt ton of X-Men books. I'll be honest, I probably saw the cartoon before I picked up any comics, and I mean, there's no probably about that. The X-Men were originally an allegory for racism, and that went over my head for a long time. I just knew that they were the outsiders, that people hated them because they were mutants, because they were different. And that stuck with me because I was different. And it was Rogue I related to the most. She couldn't make physical connections with people. She was a former villain. She was forced to be isolated even from those closest to her. It also helped that she had a punk rock hairdo and is technically a goth baddie. It did take me years to figure it out. To me, her inability to touch others was like my depression, like my other issues. The only way I knew how to deal with it was to isolate myself, to refuse connection. However, that's not the point of this. Seeing my favorite X-Man brought to rivals and portrayed pretty wonderfully has been such a treat. No offense to Anna Paquin, I'm positive she was just doing what she was asked to do. But Rogue is not a whiny teenager. She's not fragile. Rogue is a brick house. She's mighty. I wanted to tell you about one of my favorite Rogue stories. It happens in Age of X, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized while Rogue is a central character, it's Legion's story. And frankly, it's too complicated and full of too many characters. If you haven't read Age of X, go do that. It's a wonderful alternate timeline X-Men story. Yes, alternate timeline is in quotes, there's a reason. And then inspiration struck in the form of this outfit. Savage Land Rogue. Originally debuting in 1990's Uncanny X-Men number 269 and then popping up again in issues 274 and 75 to conclude the story. It wasn't until 2025, though, that the story was revisited and fleshed out and changed details of Rogue, Khazar, and Magneto's battle with Zaladane. But to begin, we must first witness the end. Previously, in Uncanny X-Men number 247, the X-Men had been fighting Master Mold and Nimrod, who had at this point fused. Rogue tried to send it through the Siege Perilous, a multiversal crystalline mirror that can grant you a new life. Unfortunately, this new monster takes a hold of Rogue, who chooses to sacrifice herself by going through the Siege Perilous alongside of this new thing. For all reading, Rogue has died, sacrificing herself for her friends, her family. Master Mold and Nimrod become Bastion, but that's another story. And then, 22 issues later, Rogue awakens, about as buck naked as I think she could legally get in 1990. She finds herself in her room of the X-Men's base in the Australian outback, the former headquarters of the Reavers. No, not those Reavers. Can you imagine? Actually, I do think the X-Men have faced off against something kind of similar in the past. She sees on the news that her adoptive mother, Mystique, has been killed, and jumps out the window to fly, only to come tumbling down to the ground. It turns out, going through the Siege Perilous has stripped her of her flight, super strength, and the near invulnerability she had stolen from Carol Danvers, while she was a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Let me tangent a moment, partially out of necessity and partially because Captain Marvel is my favorite Marvel hero. I cannot wait for her to be in Rivals, hopefully before it gets, taken out back and beaten to death like Marvel's Avengers. During Rogue's tenure with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, Destiny, Rogue's other adopted mother, had a vision that Ms. Marvel would bring ruin to Rogue's life. So after a failed attempt by the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, Rogue herself attacked Carol, permanently absorbing some of her abilities, as well as her psyche, and putting Carol in a coma. Rogue eventually went to the X-Men for help, because having Carol's mind inside of her own caused plenty of issues for Rogue. Rogue opens a portal with Gateway's power, and in a manner of panels is once again forced through a portal. She arrives in the Savage Land. It's not really clear how long Rogue spends alone, long enough to develop a few rules of survival at least. Number 1, everything around here is just as hungry and thirsty as you are. Number 2, don't ever drink from nothing bigger than a rain puddle. Number 3, don't ever sleep in a tree. Number 4, don't ever sleep on the ground neither. Number 5, and probably most important, if you're bashful, you best get over that quick, because the Savage Land will tear up your super suit faster than a couple of rounds with a juggernaut. In 269, she has a more confident attitude about being stranded here. I'm left with just my own strength and skill to find my way home. And you know what? That suits me just fine. In her solo Savage Land, we see a little more of her isolation. There's a beautiful moment where she's able to use her absorption powers to stave off the lonely nights. She summons the memories of people she's absorbed throughout the years. Listening to them share their stories was the only blessing I had. The name of a good dog, the secret clubhouse password from the summer before 4th grade, the funny way Grandpa complained about rap music, electric touches they'd shared, first kisses and last. My mama had never been around past dark to sing to me, but I'd call what happened out there under a dome that kept the sky from freezing a lullaby. Her quiet life of survival is interrupted by the awful sounds of creatures in the night. She hides from them, wondering if after everything she's done, everyone she's hurt, if she never really came back from the siege perilous, and if this was her perdition. During her journey, she comes across a village the X-Men had previously helped, in ruins, as if a war had happened. And once more, the human F-15 attacks, this time not quite looking like herself, because while Rogue has been exploring the Savage Land, Carol had been transported to Muir Island and mentally attacked by the Shadow King, an ancient and terrible evil. It seems their life forces are entwined. While one prospers, the other rots. Just when Carol gains the upper hand, she is struck from behind by a blast of energy. And who is it that's rescued our hero? Magneto, with the help of the would-be conqueror Sauron's Citadel. No, not him, this guy. With the help of said Citadel, it's discovered that Rogue's mutant genome is damaged from a binary life force imbalance. Her powers are coming and going in fits and starts. Being separated from Carol has had a significant effect on her powers. And not only is Magneto's self-imposed exile interrupted by Rogue, there's a noise outside. A saber-toothed tiger, Zabu, Khazar's brother, who makes the same awful noise of the creature Rogue hid from in the night. With a little help from Lassie, she gleans that those creatures have Khazar, and she and Zabu set out to rescue him. With Magneto reluctantly in tow, we get a glimpse that his own powers are on the fritz. Elsewhere, we see Khazar captured by the deep men of the Goron Sea. They plan to sacrifice him because their sea has left them. Their ocean has been drained. And even more elsewhere, we get a glimpse of our villains, led by Zaladane, who has lived as a priestess of the sun god long enough. Now she will be God. The Savage Land was originally created by an alien race called the Nuwali some 200 million years ago, at the request of the Beyonders, to build several game preserves on multiple planets. On Earth, they chose Antarctica, an area surrounded by volcanoes. They might not have named it the Savage Land, but it's the name that stuck. In fact, the more dinosaur-laden area is a smaller part of the whole, with a larger second area named Pangaea, and that's where most of the tribes of peoples live. Rogue, Zabu, and Magneto encounter wildlife and tribesmen, friend and foe alike, on their search for Khazar. Rogue sneaks off in the night. She won't ask Magneto to fight any more of her battles for her. We see at one of the terraforming towers, Zaladane enacts an occult ritual to take its power into herself. Ominous red lightning strikes in the night. Rogue and Zabu descend into the now drained Goron Sea and rescue Khazar, with a little Southern-style hellfire and brimstone show. Magneto catches up, and tensions rise between the Lord of the Savage Land and the Master of Evil Mutants. but Rogue manages a peace between them, and the four head to the World Parent, where Red Lightning had struck. With her ritual complete, Zaladane heads to the next World Parent alone, commanding her men to ensure none can stop her. Foment chaos, salt the land, leave nothing behind, nothing but the dead. We flash back to a frankly too cute little Rogue. It shows that on some of those nights when her hippie parents are out at a Fish concert or doing whatever young hippies do at night in a place like Caldecott County, Mississippi, she'd stay up late watching old movies, tin-plate UFOs, shuffling robots, ants the size of a van. But it turns out it was the dinosaurs that would scare her. She'd run to her aunt, who'd say, "The only way you're ever gonna see dinosaurs is if they're good and damn dead." Aunt Carrie had a way of always getting things right. The tension doesn't ease much between the men. As far as Khazar was concerned, Magneto was only the man who once came to his land and changed his people into monsters. And Magneto is not exactly the type to admit he was wrong. An awkward campfire moment between Rogue and Khazar. With her powers on the fritz, she craves the touch of someone, an age-appropriate Lord of the Hidden Jungle, someone who turns her down. He is a married man, after all, and the two consider themselves homies. This embarrassing moment is not the worst of what's to come for our heroes. Along their journey, they encounter a man-ape whose dog has been zombified. They dispatch of it quickly, and Khazar says that despite the name of this land, its people are not savage. They are curious and clever and hospitable. They only lack answers to so many questions. In normal times, they'll turn bad things into songs or stories. In times like these, they'll blame demons and spirit things. They'll see these inhuman creatures in their neighbors and justify horrific violence. That what they're dealing with is black magic. Zaladane bests a T-Rex on her icy climb to the next World Parent. Tensions for our heroes come to a head as a shouting match breaks out between Khazar and Magneto. The former claiming Magneto refuses to use his powers to their aid, the latter throwing the first punch, only to be caught in the jaws of an undeadosaurus. There's a moment where they think they are safe, only to find Shisa the Witch Woman and a whole herd of undead dinosaurs. The boys work together, and Rogue uses her power in a clever way, amplifying her life force to trick the undeadosaurs into chasing her, and then devouring Shisa. When they arrive, they find the tower has crumbled, signs of alchemy, and the fallen priestess of Garak, Zaladane. Khazar says that they must head to the last World Parent at the top of Mount Flavius. A perilous journey under normal circumstances. With the tribes at war and the environment in ruins, they must move now. However, Magneto stops the group, admitting he has been hiding something. That when he mutated Khazar's people, his intent was for them to one day be ambassadors, in the case he ever had to bring mutant refugees here. And that, unfortunately, the transference device could not give them empathy. That he has no doubt his mutates have sided with Zaladane, and will stop at nothing to make this land theirs. Magneto admits his faith was misplaced, and apologizes, to everyone's surprise. As the Master of Magnetism trails behind, we see that using his power is coming at a greater cost. Meanwhile, Brainchild is sowing dissent among the people of the Savage Land, inciting the man-apes to attack the Fall people. High atop Mount Flavius, the World Parent becomes Zaladane's. In grappling with her new powers, she has destroyed the city of Puente Arenas. And in New York, the Security Council authorizes Colonel Nicholas Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D., the Strategic Hazard Intervention, Espionage, and Logistics Directorate, to investigate the source of these strange towers that have appeared across the face of the Antarctic ice cap. The final battle brews as Rogue, Khazar, Magneto, and Zabu face off against Magneto's own creations, the Mutates. Among them, Amphibious, Whiteout, Barbarous, and Lupo, the Beastmaster. Our heroes gain the upper hand, and before Magneto can kill them, Rogue questions him. "We're the good guys, right? We're supposed to stand for something better." "She actually believes that," Magneto narrates. "Why can't I? All I see is blood. That already spilled, that yet to be. I see my path so clearly, but I turn away. He chooses to leave them trapped in some caverns. With effort and luck, they may yet survive. Magneto is struck from the sky by Zaladane. Khazar and Rogue can't hold. Every time they grab one of their people, another mutate, Worm, uses his slime, taking control of them. Gaza and Brainchild gain the upper hand in the battle, but only for a moment. When S.H.I.E.L.D. arrives, outland us with outworld weapons. Zaladane was able to fry most of their electronics with a localized EMP, leaving their ships wide open to weather and her pterosaur air cavalry. As the soldiers debate retreat, Magneto enters camp. Guns obviously get aimed at him, but Rogue and Fury's cooler head prevail. Magneto had used a hologram to take the measure of Zaladane. It turns out, one of the soldiers had a son aboard the submarine Leningrad. It had fired a salvo of nuclear ballistic missiles at Magneto, so he sunk her, with all hands. These Russians, who let my daughter burn to death. There is too much history and hate between us. I cannot talk to these men. But Magneto is prevented from storming off too far by Rogue. Zaladane's towers create a resonance field that are placing her in sync with the Earth's magnetic field. Soon, nothing will be beyond her capability, or her grasp, unless she is stopped. Whatever's needed, that's what we'll do, with these yo-yos or without them. With her powers still on the fritz, Rogue is forced to don combat armor. And side note, this is a skin I need in Rivals. S.H.I.E.L.D. Rogue. As they gear up to leave, Khazar notices something. A look in Magneto's eyes. Will they understand? Or will they consider this my final betrayal? And speaking of betrayal, the father shouts, For my Dmitri, you mutant butcher! For all the Rodina's murdered sons! And shoots Magneto down, causing him to crash into the chopper with Rogue, Zabu, Khazar, and Fury inside. They're forced to traverse the dangerous jungle and its stalking predators. Magneto, though, has been captured by Zaladane, who, with the help of Brainchild and the transference device, she begins to siphon his power. His life flashes before his eyes. Once more, I hear myself howl till my voice shatters at the sight of my daughter burning to death before my eyes. Once more, hot blood mixes with salt tears as my beloved Isabel's throat is cut by those I thought my friends. Once more, rage flashes through me. It almost seems too much for Zaladane. She resigns to finish the transference in the morning. Until then, she leaves him to the whims of Brainchild and his pets. But Magneto sees Rogue and Khazar and finds it within himself to break free. In this moment, Zaladane flings our heroes to the ceiling, and Rogue's power returns. They manage a momentary escape. Rogue battles through Zaladane's forces, but is stopped by Zaladane herself. Fury, Khazar, and Zabu hold back who they can without harming those possessed by Worm's slime. And in the confusion, Magneto is forgotten. He activates the transference device again, this time taking back his power from Zaladane. The towers are destroyed and Zaladane's forces are defeated. Yet Magneto does not stop. There can only be one master of magnetism. Is this the kind of man you choose to be? Rogue asks. I thought you'd learn that means matter as much as ends. You twist the one, you taint the other. Where's the nobility, the honor in slaying a helpless foe? You found a better way with the X-men. Do you want to turn your back on it? And for those efforts, Rogue, what have I accomplished? The new mutants were left in my charge and they suffered for it. I am not Charles Xavier. I will never be Charles Xavier. I was a fool to try, as was he for believing I could succeed. And Zaladane is no more. Magneto flies off. His people are in danger now more than ever. With her powers returned, Rogue is able to use Worm's slime to free everyone. The fight is over. The Savage Lands are free from Zaladane. And from this fateful crossroads, we go our separate ways. Yeah, this video got away from me a little. I don't really think this is what I intended. I think I just wanted to play Rivals and tell you a story about Rogue. If you're still here, thanks for watching. If you're still here and you enjoyed this, my heart's a flutter. Thank you. If you're still here and you didn't like this, well, fuck, bud. I think that's your fault at this point. I don't know what the point of this was. I don't know if it's worth the squeeze. I know there's more edits in this video than my whole library put together. I don't know if I'll do this again. Well, if Captain Marvel gets released before Rivals goes under, I'll do this again. Thanks again, Marvel's Avengers. I know what story... No. Maybe I know what story I'd do. There's other stories I could do. There's some good magic out there. There's some bad magic out there, too. I'm currently reading, I think, her most recent solo run. I'm like halfway through the first trade. Squirrel Girl could be cool. Maybe. She's fought off Thanos, Doom, and Galactus with the power of squirrels. It's a little crazy. It's a little nuts. Magneto has some good stuff running around. But he and Charles always get philosophical, and I'm dumb as shit. I mean, as of recording, Elsa Bloodstone is coming next to Rivals. I'm not super familiar with her. I know she's a Van Helsing type, and that's cool. And frankly, one of the few MCU projects I will defend with my last breath is Werewolf by Night. Oh my moon, go watch Werewolf by Night. Oh, this outro has gotten away from me. Any road. Thanks again. Ta-ta for now.